Have you found any other discrepancies in the revised master plan?
See, the thing is, one hasn't, I mean, this is really the headline news and the one which impacts citizens. If you go into the fine print of this whole thing, there are other issues which can be debated. For example, there's this whole concept of mutation corridors. Now, what is a mutation corridor? It basically says 100 feet road Koramangala is gone, 100 feet road Indiranagar is gone. By virtue of effectively becoming commercial zones, we just accept them as mutation corridors. The master plan could have even now said that for these mutation corridors, that the government needs to plan what Vijayan mentioned earlier, the infrastructure of parking and the like. You cannot just say, it's gone, now this is a given. Even now, you need to say, okay, even if this is a given, what do I need to do in terms of parking? The master plan is silent on that. The other thing about the master plan really, and this goes to the core of the philosophy of the master plan, how much do the various wings of government tend to embrace the principles of the master plan? It's all there, but does the BWSSB or does the BMTC really look at it while they plan their actions in their departments? I doubt it. By and large, the master plan ends up becoming a land use plan. And that is a very, very limiting nature. A master plan by nature needs to be dynamic, and it covers all aspects from energy to water supply to waste to transportation, and the different departments of government need to embrace it and follow it. It doesn't happen. So to your question, are there other elements? The question really is, if you went to the departments in this city and asked them, what does the master plan ask you to do, you will find them wanting.
Oh, Mr. Vijayan, you want to add to this?
Yes, because at the initial phase, and if you look at the origination of this particular master plan, there was a move to mandate the master plan. And it was called the master plan because, as opposed to the comprehensive development plan earlier, because the master plan was supposed to bring in all the civic authorities onto one table. And therefore, once a master plan has passed into law, every civic authority, BWSSB, BBMP, etc., are supposed to run by that mandate. However, it's boiled down because of tugs and pressures to, as Ravi was saying, to a paper exercise of coloring of only a land use area. So you have a BWSSB plan which is in isolation, which is in parallel to a master plan area. So the twain shall never meet. Neither will the electricity department look at where the activities are, because it's not mandated. It's not a mandated form. And the interesting thing here is that the 2015-2035 master plan is now in process. The tenders for it, the tenders in the sense the study for it, etc. is happening. One does hope that the kind of judgment that has been passed and the kind of pace that we are picking up on a master plan concept will start rubbing into at least the 2015-2025 master plan in terms of processes and how it should be looked at. If that happens through this PIL, that itself is a big win.
Mr. Vijayan, in the petition, you have also pointed out to the court that there has been a steep reduction in the green belt area from 56% in 1995 plan to 35% now, that is in the revised master plan. How did the court react to it? Did the court react to it strongly?
Well, since this is a 4-year-old PIL, a lot of people have forgotten. Early on, very, very early on, almost two years ago, there was already a judgment passed on the green belt. That is basically saying that whoever uses the green belt as per the new master plan is subject to this PIL's final decision with retrospective effect. So it is in your own danger if you think that the master plan's interpretation of what is green belt is law. The court has already passed that judgment 2 years ago. So whoever is building on what the master plan is saying is the green belt, the reduced green belt is actually well, it depends on what the court finally says. Along with that is the other aspect, which is the valleys and protected areas. Green belt is one issue, and the valleys and protected areas come under a slightly different area, which is another area which we're going to take up and take focus within the master plan. Between the draft master plan, which is up for discussion, and the final master plan, there was huge changes in that particular aspect.
Mr. Ravichandran, according to the petition, you must have gone through the petition, Section 14A of Town and Country Planning Act, which says parties must seek government nod for change of land, has been rendered redundant under the revised master
Yes.
plan. Can you elaborate on it?
Yeah, so for example, earlier we had good systems. What is a good system? If I wanted to change my land use, my neighbors had to agree. So you typically had to put out a notice that there's a change in land use application, there are no objections coming, and then the government passed the thing allowing the change of land use. All that has now been given a go-by under the new system. So it's not that we didn't have the proper systems. And even there, when they used to do it in the past, the neighbors never came to know that such a change in land use was there because they'll paste it in some government office, ward office, which nobody will even know that such a thing has been pasted. So there are ways and means to even defeat that intent. But at least the fundamental principle that the neighborhood and the neighbors have a say when you do change of land use is basically was enshrined, which has gone. What is this mutation corridor that I spoke about? A lot of the people on the 100-feet road never went for change in land use. They just went and built a commercial place, which in the old system, you had to have a process to get that done. So that's been given a go-by. And I hope as a result of this judgment, the primacy of the neighborhood, the primacy of people who live there and their voice again comes center table, then a great service has been served for future generations. Because overseas, if you see, the voice of the local county, you can't do without the voice of the community agreeing to things. I mean, there have been enough cases which have got a lot of publicity where local neighborhoods have said, no, we don't want this out here. And that's how the place is supposed to be run.
You want to add something to that? Mr. Vijay?
Let me put an anecdotal thing here. And since I've been involved in the master plan both at the PIL level and also in the interaction between government officials without naming government officials. So this is how this mixed zone and the current master plan came about. We had a 1995 master plan, CDP. Citizens and everybody concerned didn't follow it and did illegal commercialization everywhere. Now, verbatim, we can't be monitoring this. It's very difficult to monitor it because people are doing it. So let's make a law on which we don't have to monitor. So let's make it that we don't have to intervene, that we will paint this whole road, whole area as commercial stroke, residential stroke, whatever you want. So therefore, nobody can come to us and say, you didn't do your work. And this was actually a verbatim statement across the table. And there were 4 or 5 of us and we were stunned when we came out and said, look, that's probably the time we said that.
You didn't oppose at that time?
Well, what we said was now's the time for a PIL. What else can you what else can you say? What else can you say when a senior bureaucrat comes with this logic of why there is the so-called mixed zoning and the whole area is left open?
But this interim order is a slap on them.
It is a fairly big slap, and the CJ actually said, I am going to pass a far-reaching order. What do you have to say, GOK councils, BDA councils, please? And he asked them over and over and over again before actually passing the order. But there was no responses.